Costa.
Present.
Ms. Dunn.
Present.
Ms. Coffinger.
Here.
Mr. Luna.
Here.
Ms. Ryan.
Here.
Vice President Gomez.
Here.
President Andrews.
Here. All rise for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the New Milford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall and the New Milford Public Library. Notices have been sent to the Record and the Twin Borough News. The board announces that under its long-standing policy, it will not discuss in public any comments made by members of the public concerning individual staff members. At this time, please be advised that all cell phones and electronic devices are to be turned off. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. Before coming to the board, the chain of command should be followed. There are two portions of the meeting reserved for comments from the public. The first at the beginning of the meeting for the agenda items only, and the second at the end of the meeting for other items. Issues raised by the public may or may not be responded to by the board, but all comments will be considered. The board requests that all members of the public be mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Due to confidentiality and legal rights afforded by the state of New Jersey, members of the public are asked to not speak negatively or in a derogatory manner about any employee of the board or any student. I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the February 15th work, February 15th close, and February 16th regular. Motion by Heather Gomez, second by Stephanie Coffinger. All in favor?
Abstain. I have to abstain from the 16th, I was not here.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. These open to the public is before our student board rep, and I like to do student board rep first. Moving forward, that's going to be made permanently on the agenda, but tonight we're making that change right now. So we're going to have our student board representative report. Mackenzie Forte. Good to see you, Mackenzie.
You too. So hello everyone. I hope everyone is having a very happy March so far. So right now our student council is primarily focused on our end of year spirit week in June and the ultimate spirit week showdown. And as the end of the year is getting closer, we're planning more and more fun things. So as I mentioned before, it's sort of like our spirit week in the fall with the theme days for the whole week, but much, much bigger. There will be over 20 events on our giant spirit day. And leading up to the big day, there will be lots of pre-events scheduled to gain points. So the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors can earn points all year, starting very soon. So we'll be utilizing our fresh start sessions to start gaining points for each class. And first up is our rock, paper, scissors tournament, which is taking place before spring break. And there's going to be 32 kids from each grade participating with a total of 128 students. And the winner of each grade will go to the Final Four, where a first place winner gets big points for their grade. And other pre-events are going to allow students to showcase their varying talents, such as cooking, art, athletics, and more. And our hope with our new Massive Spirit Week is to bring our school spirit up and start a new awesome tradition. And we're so excited to bring our student body closer together and have an amazing time. So that's what's going on with our student council.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Goodness.
May I ask, this rock, paper, scissors tournament, is it like the old school game?
Yes.
That's a really fun idea. Wow. Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mackenzie?
I do, actually. Mackenzie, how are you doing?
I'm good.
So, you guys, isn't there like something? I know, I can't. Isn't there something going on with you?
Oh yes, I'm very excited. We're in Tech Week for the musical, The Wedding Singer, and tickets are available. Or now there's a link online, and we're at rehearsal right now, so I'm in the auditorium practicing.
Hence, you get to go first, so you can run back to the auditorium.
So, once again, the musical is what days?
It is March 24th, 25th, and 26th, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday next week.
Next week, yes. So,
Fantastic.
I
How do
just-
you get tickets?
You go to the link, nmhsmusicals.com.
There you go. NMHSmusicals.com.
Yeah.
And the last time I saw Mackenzie, she was spinning
yes. in the arms of
thrown
a
all
gentleman on the stage like that. How do you do that?
It was super fun.
So anyway, I just, with everything that you did, I just wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to you because I know you're working really hard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Awesome.
Mr. Alvaro, you had your hand raised.
I was just gonna say that, Mackenzie, you gotta show your excitement a little bit.
She really doesn't bring any sparkle to the room, does she?
All right.
All right, thank
Okay.
you very much, and Mackenzie, you need to get back to the
Yes.
auditorium. Good luck. Break a
luck.
leg?
Break a leg.
Break a
Break
leg.
a leg.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Always super.
All right. I'm gonna have her go first.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, one more change to the agenda, not change, but just rearrange. We're gonna have Stephanie Kuchar's business administrator audit presentation go next. So, Dr. Kuchar?
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Jeff Bliss, our auditor of Lurch, Quincy, and Higgins, and you all have a copy of the audit that he will be presenting.
Thank you.
Wherever you'd like.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. We completed the audit for the year ended June 30th of 2021. I know it's a little late in the year for the audit. The due date, filing date was extended this year to March 15th due to information that we were required to get from the State Division of Pension and Benefits, and all districts in New Jersey, filing date was extended to March 15th. Our ultimate goal as the auditor is to give an opinion on your financial statements. Our opinion on your financial statements is unmodified. Unmodified means a clean opinion. Clean opinion means the financial statements are fairly stated, they're prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. There's no scope limitations in performing the audit. An unmodified opinion is an absolute must in any financial statement audit. If there's a modification, it means there is either a defect or a material difference in the financial statements, or there was a scope limitation in performing the audit, meaning the balances can't be supported or the transactions can't be supported. So unmodified opinion, clean, absolute must. We also have to give an opinion on your compliance with federal and state grants. Our opinion there again is unmodified, clean opinion on your grants, meaning in all material respects you comply with your grant compliance requirements. Anything other than unmodified again is meaning you did not comply and ultimately there could be funds that are due back to the grantor agency. So again, an absolute must to have an unmodified opinion in a grant compliance audit. We also have to report under government auditing standards any non-compliance with respect to financial reporting, and then any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses over financial reporting and over grant compliance. And we have no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies reported in this audit. That's obviously a very good thing. One of the most important financial statements from the point of view as a board member is the budgetary comparison schedule of the general fund. It starts on page 71 of the big report, and it ends on page 78 where it gives a summary of the fund balances. The budgetary comparison schedule gives you a line-by-line accounting of your revenues and your expenses. Your general fund, like I said, is your major operating fund. It's the budget that you adopt every year in April. Previously, and many years ago, used to go to the voters to get approved by the voters. It is set up so that it has your original budget that was approved, any modifications to the original budget, what the modified budget is, and then the column actual and then what the variance is between modified and actual. If you as a board member ever want to know how much you spent on teacher salaries or health benefits or tuition costs, this is the schedule you go to from year to year, and you can do your comparison off of that. At the end, on page 78, is a summary of your fund balances. And not all fund balances are available to be used as the board, or be used for just anything. The board has done resolutions in the past, and every January to put money away in certain reserve accounts. And I'm going to go over these fund balances so you are aware of what these monies are for and what they can be used for. Overall, financially, the district had a very good year. Its fund balance went up a little over $2.1 million. You started the year at about $6.6 million. You ended the year at $8.7 million. We're seeing in all our districts the fund balance is increasing due to the COVID situation and school closures. A lot of expenses that were budgeted for didn't take place. Specific and substitute teaching expenses, transportation, some tuition and related service type costs. So it's not unusual to see an increase in the fund balances during this year. Of that $8.7 million, the district has set aside in capital reserve $1,715,569. Those funds set aside by the board by resolution are for capital projects that are in the long-range facility plan. You can't use them for operating costs such as teacher salaries, general administrative salaries, health benefits, tuition. They're only available for capital projects in a long-range facility. If you take money out of the reserve to fund the project, and you don't spend all the money that you took out, it goes back to the reserve. Maintenance reserve, you had $640,864. These are funds that are set aside for required maintenance projects. They can't be used for capital projects, and they can't be used for operating expenses. The difference between required maintenance and capital adds value to an asset and extends its life. Maintenance keeps it in its current working condition. Again, can only be used for required maintenance of school facilities. If you take it out for a required maintenance project, you don't usually, it goes back. You put monies into these reserves by resolution every year. The district also has an emergency reserve of a little over $400,000. Emergency reserves are very difficult to get money out of. You would think you could just use it if you had an emergency. It's not that simple. There's two ways the board can use it without state approval. One is to budget it at budget time for security projects, and one, you can use it during the year if your health benefit costs, unbudgeted health benefit costs exceed 4%. Then you could do it by resolution. To use it for any other purpose, you have to get county superintendent approval. Very difficult to get, almost impossible. They will look at all your funds, all your budget lines, all your revenue, and make you wipe that out before you go there. Something new this year, there was a new government accounting standard that came in effect about fiduciary funds, and one of the funds that we used to account for in your trust funds, unemployment compensation reserve, is now reported in the general fund. At the end of the year, you had $74,701. The district has many years ago, like many governments in New Jersey, adopted what they call the reimbursement method for unemployment claims, meaning you're basically self-insured for unemployment. If someone goes on unemployment, files a claim, the claim comes to you and you pay dollar for dollar every claim that comes through. Those funds can only be used for unemployment claims, $74,701. The next two line items, excess surplus. In New Jersey, there's only so much what they call unassigned fund balance you're allowed to have. When the books get closed out and all the monies get transferred into the reserve account based on the direction of the board through resolution, anything over this year, 4%, after the transfers into the reserves, goes into what they call an excess surplus reserve. Those funds must be used at the next time you do your budget. Cannot be used for any other purpose. So when we ended the year, June 30th of 21, did all the transfers, closed the books, you had excess surplus from the 2021 year of $1,567,844. Those funds must be used as a revenue in the budget of 22-23. So when you do 22-23 budget, which I'm sure you're going to be approving next week, the minimum amount of fund balance that is in that budget has to be $1,567,844. The next line, excess surplus, is from the prior year's audit, June 30th of 20, $2,091,115. And those funds were reserved and are being used in 21-22 as a revenue source to fund the 21-22 budget. Those funds are no longer available to fund future expenses. You're using them now. On July 1 of 21, they lose their distinction. They're gone. They're in the budget. Assigned fund balances, those are fund balances that are either by board assignment or by management assignment. You had year-end encumbrances of $269,528, represent commitments the district made to purchase goods and services at the end of the year. The goods and services weren't provided. You awarded a contract or you ordered goods. The contract hasn't been acted on or the goods haven't been received. You don't owe anybody money, but you've committed those funds for those services and those goods. Once the services are rendered, the goods are received, those purchase orders get liquidated and expensed against the 21-22 budget. The next item, designated for subsequent year expenditures of $32,872, is the additional fund balance the board chose to use to balance the 21-22 budget. When you did your 21-22 budget, you did all your expenses, you did all your revenues, you put the extra surplus you had to use to balance that budget and get it to a place where the board was comfortable. You used an additional $32,872. Those funds are gone. They're being used in 21-22, no longer available. That leaves you at the end of the year with unassigned fund balance. That's the money that can be used going forward for any purpose in the district's budget. Big change in how this is calculated this year. Prior to the 2021 year, the max you could have is 2%. The legislature changed it, and for the 21-22 and the 22-23 year, they allowed you to go to 4%. It's 4% plus some additional add-ons for certain state aid you received that you didn't budget for, and they allow you to add that to the 4%. Your 4% is roughly 1.4% of your budget, it's roughly 1.5 million, plus you got an additional add-on for extraordinary aid that you received over and above what you budgeted of $367,000, and roughly another $71,000 non-public school transportation aid. You add those three numbers up, you get $1,946,904. Another big thing they changed in the law is they allow districts now, by board resolution, to use these funds during the year, during this current 21-22 year. If something comes up that is unbudgeted and there's no funds available, you can draw down on this by board resolution. Previously, you were not allowed to go into the 2% piece of it. Now you could go, you could basically use the whole thing by resolution. Financially, district had an excellent year. Very sound condition, improved your net position significantly, increased your reserve significantly, and ended the year at a 4% unassigned fund balance, and you have excess surplus to apply towards the next 21, 22, 23 year. So very good. With respect to findings, I know last year when we had this presentation, it was, the findings were not good. There was 16 of them, some of them very significant. If you go to the smaller page, or go to the summary page, page 16, significant improvement with respect to the audit recommendations and the audit findings and recommendations. Obviously, the business office made a very concerted effort to clean up those issues that were reported last year, and of those 16 issues, 12 of them were cleared up. And that, believe me, is a major feat. Doesn't always happen in 1 year. But some additional things came up this year, nothing that was considered a significant deficiency. Last year we had significant deficiency. So I'll go through them. There's 8 of them. Okay, down 8. There was 16 last year. We're down to 8. The first one is regarding purchasing, and purchase orders that are issued after the fact, meaning after an order is placed. They're called confirming orders. Not a good control procedures. The purpose of a purchase order is to control what's being purchased and to make sure funds are available in the budget. In doing our test of controls, there was a significant number of purchase orders that were dated after the orders were placed. So the invoices, the order was placed, the invoice came in, and then the purchase order was issued. Obviously, that's not a practice that is good. Mainly was in one area of the budget, building and grounds, I believe. Next item is the purchase orders that are booked at the end of the year. There was one large purchase order for salary and wages that was booked, so it looked like the money was committed against the budget. In further review, reviewing subsequent disbursements, it was determined that it was in an invalid order. So we canceled it. That's just something, before you close out, you gotta go through the orders and you gotta determine, are they payables, are they encumbrances, or are they invalid and we cancel? That's a year-end procedure. We just gotta improve that a little bit. Next item, in looking through the budget, closing out the budget, we had 3 line items that were over expenditures. It wasn't a lot in total. It was $37,000 in total for the 3 lines. Over expenditures are something that are not permitted in the state of New Jersey, obviously, and we just got to do a better job to make sure before we commit funds to the budget or a budget line, we do transfers, get them approved first, and then we go out and commit funds. Item 4, which is a repeat, follows the food service fund. That's your cafeteria account. It's an account that is not run, the accounting of the transactions is not run through your existing financial accounting and reporting system. It's run on, I believe it's QuickBooks or Quicken. So it's kind of like outside the financial reporting system. We want you to bring it in. We want you to bring it in with everything else so that it's all reported all in the same system. Next item is also a repeat cash overdraft in the payroll agency bank account. There was a $31,000 overdraft. It's the exact same amount as last year. We've got to clean it up this year. Got to get rid of it. Probably have to charge something in the budget, clean it up, and get it to zero. That account basically should be zero. It's been there for a couple of years. 6, also a repeat reconciling items on the district bank accounts. Need to go through them, review them, get rid of them, clean it up. There's numerous old items. There's actually inter-fund transactions between accounts. We've got to clean them up. We got old checks that will never be cleared. Some we've had, go back to 2018. And then we just got some reconciling differences. Nothing of major or significant monies, but we just got to get it cleaned up. Item 7 is something dealing with the IDA grant. It was a result of us picking the IDA grant as our single audit of major programs. What we noted is you are approving the teachers that are being charged to that program after the fact. So after the year's ended, you do a resolution to say these teachers are permitted to be charged to the program. It's got to be done before you incur the funds. You got to approve it first, then you could charge those teachers to the program. They're all legitimate charges. It's just a technical issue. In addition, the resolution should also just say how much of the individual salary is going to be charged to the grant, like 50%, 75%, 100%. And then we also found one instance where an employee did not have a time and effort activity report. They're required to be filed twice a year at the minimum. This individual didn't have any filed for the year. All the other employees have. Last item, school purchasing. 2 minor items. We had one contractor for a sewer line repair, I believe it was at the middle school, who exceeded the bid threshold that we didn't go out to bid for. If it's over a certain amount, you gotta go out to bid, you have to go out to a formal bid. And then there were 2 instances where contracts that exceeded the bid threshold, which did not appear that they needed to go to bid, because one was a co-op purchase and the other one may have been, it looked like an emergency or an EUS they called. It was over the bid threshold, but wasn't approved by the board. Any contract that's over the bid threshold, if it goes out to bid, if it's a professional service, if it's an EUS, it must be approved by the board. Those are the 8 recommendations. Again, significant improvement in this year's report than last year's report, both from a financial position as well as from a recommendation or the recommendation position. If there's any questions, be more than happy to answer.
Does anyone have any questions? I just want to say thank you.
Welcome.
I'm glad
Right.
to see. Wait, do any of the other board members have questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jeff.
Latchkey Broadway Kids, that was there for years. It's finally good now. Good job. Okay, and that is, did you have anything else? Okay. All right, that brings us to Superintendent of Schools report, Danielle Shanley.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Jeff's gone, and thank you, Jeff. Have a lot of thank yous, actually. The past week has been quite the bear in central office. Last week, Stephanie and her team and the auditing service wrapped up the audit. We always have an end of audit, meeting, and we review all of these things before, obviously, all of you do. And, Stephanie really has worked very, very hard to tighten the controls. And you have to understand just how many hands are in the till. How many people cut POs and how many people touch every little piece that goes into here. And sometimes, I think about the recommendation on number 1, how purchase orders were put up after goods were received. So, for example, you have an emergency with a boiler or something like that, and they come in and they provide you the service, and then they hand you the bill, and then the purchase order goes up the next morning, that's exactly that's why he said it was happening in maintenance, because it happens when you have things like that and you don't have, and I thought about the sewer line, I'm like, so you're gonna go out to bid when I have the sewer line backing up into the building? Like, I'm not quite sure how that works, but, okay, we're gonna do a better job. But, Stephanie, you know, we do meet with the leadership team regularly, and she does remind us very often, and we get phone calls that say, the auditors are gonna lose their mind, we can't do this, you know, so I know that, you know, 8 may seem like a lot, but it really, in retrospect, in looking at the prior year's audits, we're in a very good position. When you have turnover in an office, lots of times there are things that, you know, you have to get into line, and I think she's doing a very good job.
Thank you.
So thank you, and our team is doing a very good job in being responsive and following the guide. Then we received our budget numbers at the end of the week, last week, our state aid numbers, and then we were preparing for Cpac, and that is a bear for anybody who hasn't been through Cpac. You know, they come in and they do multiple days of investigating every aspect of running a school district and preparation for budget, and then and preparation for the meeting, and then the preliminary budget. So it's been a lot, and we have a lot of people. Lauren, Stephanie, Terry, Andrea, our teams, our leadership teams, the principals, all of whom, custodians, and everybody involved, Brian, in getting us ready for Cpac and the deep dive that they do when they're here. So I just want to thank all of them. Last weekend, I had the opportunity to participate with the kids in the benefit concert. I'm not exactly sure how much money was raised, but it was certainly a lot of fun. And if you can get out there to see some very talented kids perform in the Wedding Singer next week, please do that. Please support them. Tonight, you will see on our agenda, there is a preliminary budget proposal. I believe our chairperson from our finance committee will speak to you about that a little bit later. In the month of April, normally I would be reporting out all the wonderful things that happened in athletics to wrap up our winter season, but I'd actually like to save that for April because Mr. Riccardelli, Mr. Menipelli, and I would like to bring the teams forward to be recognized here at the board level. So I'll save all that good stuff, and I will probably be in the auditorium maybe for that, just so that we can spread out and have everybody come, and if they want to bring their families and things like that. I do have to report out, because I didn't yesterday, the HIB report. So yesterday I reported out the suspension report, and I reported out the student safety data system report for September through December. But what I didn't report out to you were the individual HIB reports for February. So Stephanie, I will give these to you, or I can read them to you, but I can give them to you too. So, so this one is New Milford High School, and the number is 228844. And this one was unfounded HIB. This one is David E. Owens, 228452. And this one's also unfounded. So an investigation was launched, but unfounded. This one is Berkeley, 228647, also unfounded. 228648, also Berkeley, unfounded. And Berkeley, 228374. This was a confirmed case of bullying. Okay. And just let me make sure I'm catching everything. And so I guess I wish the luck of the Irish to you all tomorrow, and happy St. Joseph's Day for those of you who have Joseph in your name or something. And I think that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just have a question in terms of, so there is the item on the finance, but we don't do our committee report till after?
Do you
So
want to
do you-
report out
Yeah.
before that? I was going to
Before the
address
vote?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should report before.
Oh,
the
there is
vote.
one other thing I forgot to
Okay.
mention. You may have noticed the addition, last night I had a placeholder, but tonight I did add underneath personnel, I'm recommending to the board the rehiring of Mr. Ray Cutiers for social studies. Is interested in coming back, and we have an opening, and sometimes just the stars align. So I know that the community and the students will welcome him back with open arms.
Good news. Okay, thank you. Okay, that brings us to Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction Report, Lorna Doxa. Do you have anything?
I do not have a report this evening.
All right, thank you.
Shared everything yesterday.
Okay. Board action. I seek a motion to, no. Oh, we have to go back up there.
Mhm.
At this point, I would like to, before board action, I would like to open to the public for items on the agenda as outlined in New Milford Board of Education bylaw 0167. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 2 minutes. Can I get a motion? Motion by Cheryl Calderon, seconded by Joseph Luna. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, Mrs. LePage, please state your name and address.
Middle page 136, Clinton Ave. I have a question about P121. Is that listed on Schedule D in the contract as something else? Because it's not on there with that title.
Yes, is it
It's,
called
it might be,
HESPA? It might be HESPA Portfolio or
it's
HESPA?
not NJSLA, was not updated for the new assessment.
But there isn't even, I was looking for something that was close, and there's nothing that says portfolio coordinator.
Does it say waiver?
I can pull it
or-
up. Just give me
Okay.
a second. It's gonna take me a minute, so I don't
Here's,
Okay,
wanna launch it.
AHSA remediation, but that's not.
That's it.
that's it.
That
Oh,
is
it
it.
is? Okay, so there's one stipend, so obviously it's split between these two people.
No, it's not being split. There are 2 of them because there are 31 students.
There's only one position listed though on the schedule. Like, it's only listed once, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Okay, well, we've paid for more than one before when we had an excess number of students. One for math and one for ELA.
So do you think that we should just make a note and in the next negotiations actually list it out, one math, one ELA, so that there's.
We
but for
could,
the
yes,
future, is-
that's a good note.
Okay. All right, thanks.
It does require content area expertise.
Thank you, Mrs. LePage. May I get a motion to close to the public? Motion by Nicole Dunn, second by Heather Gomez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I would like to make a motion to approve BA 81, BA 82, BA 83, BA 84, and BA 85. Can I get a second? Second by Heather Gomez. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I seek a motion to approve C33. Wonderful that they're coming back for the students. And C34. Can I get a motion? Motion by Stephanie Coffinger, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Personnel recommendations.
You did? We forgot? Yeah. So
So
can
we
we
need
add it?
to add that.
Can we add it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You wanna
Okay, so
speak to that?
tell me where we'll put what it is. We need a number to add. Yeah.
So last night we discussed, and I apologize, Ms. LePage, because I was supposed to contact you today and I didn't.
Wait for the call.
So you were watching the meeting.
I'm so sorry.
Here it is.
So here it is. Wait. Ringing anything? Lynn? It's Danielle. So last night, I proposed to the board in closed session, an assistant track coach for the middle school, because so many students showed interest and we were concerned about student safety and we didn't want to limit the numbers in track if possible. The track coach is paid $3,000. We realize that we do not have a stipend negotiated for an assistant track coach. I'm proposing $1,500. And then moving forward, you can add that to your notes for something that we could discuss for negotiations.
I would propose 1950 because the assistant coaches, as opposed to the coaches on the regular coaching schedule, is about 65% of what the head coach gets. So that would, I did the same math to get that number.
She's talking about a percentage.
Yeah.
So she's saying assistant coaches on the high school guide make approximately 65% of what the head coach makes, and so she's proposing a similar percentage, which I don't think would be a problem if it's not a problem for the board.
It's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
It's 60 kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I should have called you. I'm sorry. So I'll recommend that this evening, and we will see what the board.
Okay.
And where is that going to go?
Stephanie's
It's going to be
gonna
P,
It's not
F,
It's going to be.
So it's going to finance.
F, 173.
All right, so now that that is there,
And you'll let me know what that says, how that.
It'll be to approve an assistant track coach position for 1950 with the appointment to come at the next meeting,
and do you need to specify for middle school?
middle school.
Okay. All right, then now I can seek a motion for personnel recommendations. Having the recommendation of the superintendent, I seek a motion to approve P118, P115, P116, P117, P118, P119, P120, P121, P122, P124, and, P123, and P124 has been added. Can I get a second?
Did you skip board actions? And education.
An educational
Yeah,
program?
she did, she just jumped right over it.
All right, we
That's
need to stop
No.
rearranging.
No, we did it. I motioned. We have
Your
We already
motion?
did that, yeah.
Okay.
We did?
Yeah.
We open to the public?
Yeah, we did it.
They're going out of order.
I don't know.
I'm so tired.
All right, it's been a long week.
It's been a long week. It's only Wednesday.
Can I get a motion, please? Motion by Stephanie Coffinger, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor?
Nope.
Nope. Roll call?
Yes. Yep.
Mr.
We're
Alvarado,
just totally
Yes.
confusing it.
We are like.
Ms. Calderon,
Yes.
Mr. DeCosta,
Yes.
Ms. Dunn,
Yes.
Ms. Coffinger.
Yes.
Mr. Luna.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Vice President Gomez,
Yes?
President Andrews.
Yes. So now we will have Finance Committee, Paige Ryan, but instead of doing committee report at the end, more rearrangement to confuse everyone. I think since we have to take action on what we met on, you should give your committee report now.
Yeah, so specifically, we spoke about two things. We had a committee meeting yesterday, as we mentioned. Prior to the board meeting, we stayed after the meeting had adjourned, and we came early again this evening at 6 PM. So the committee met technically three different times. And there were two items specifically. One was the request for the middle school track coach, which we're adding to the agenda under finance here, which would be F-173. And we did explain that to everyone last night. So I don't know if anyone had any additional questions on that one before I move on. Nope. Okay, and then the other item that we discussed was specifically around F-161, which is the approval of the preliminary budget for the 2022-2023 submission to the Bergen County Department of Education. The approval would be on approving preliminary, which is really just exactly that, which is preliminary. It is not a final budget. It is not approved by just the committee that this is what we're going to do, but something does have to be submitted to the county by a certain date. The budget being put together, there were numbers that come from the state aid, and also benefits calculations that needed to be considered into this, as well as other monies which we still don't really know from the state, but we have to budget according to that. So this was something that needed to be done at this time. So the Finance Committee, because we do, our board does go by committee. The only thing that we don't do by committee is personnel, and that is, we do it as a board of the whole. I'm explaining that for anyone else listening too. So the Finance Committee spoke. This was presented from our business administrator and our superintendent. This information is preliminary, so it is not made public until it is going to be presented as a final budget. The rest of the board will review this, will have commentary, will have questions, will be able to participate in that discussion prior to this becoming anything that is final and is proposed. However, the superintendent and the business administrator and their office has to know where we are headed in terms of as a district. So to be able to get to that, there's a lot of numbers and a lot of writing, and I'm not going to pretend to be an accountant. So I will report what we did, and then Stephanie, please correct anything that I say that is incorrect. So as Stephanie had mentioned earlier in this process, but earlier in this year actually, in speaking to the budget, the goal was to start at a zero-based budget, which is essentially not looking at any item and looking at not spending more than what is absolutely necessary in terms of an increase in a cost, but not doing that. So so everyone was instructed to do that. We did get additional state aid from the state calculations. There were some extraordinary costs that had increased, mostly in the transportation area, because transportation costs have increased by, can I say that much at least? I don't know if it's preliminary budget, I can say that, by $520,000. Not that our budget is $520,000, but it has increased by $500,000. And that increase really comes from multiple factors, but the biggest of which is everything that had happened in the last year and a half. Transportation companies did not renew their contracts as they were. They started fresh, basically, and with every district within the state at least, increased. And there is no cap to what they do with the increase. We need this transportation to transport our most vulnerable students, as well as some students that fall within the distance parameters, but a majority of it is around our most vulnerable students. So we have to do this. So this is $500,000 that, yes, we did get an increase in state aid, but this was not something that we were budgeted for. As well as the special education costs for our students that go out of district. This is not a finger pointing, it just is. That what happens is those costs will go up, and there is no cap to those costs either. And we don't really have any control over whether we want to spend or not spend, or how many we will educate or assist. So those go up as well. So that being said, the budget as proposed preliminary is at the 2%, so it is at the 2% cap with about 196,000 maybe. There was a change to the benefits plan for educators. We went from Chapter 78, which is where our employees contributed as a percent of the premium, to Chapter 44, which is where they can opt to go into a different plan and contribute as a percent of their salary. And that was proposed throughout the state as something that would save everyone. It definitely saves for the employees, And as a district, through the calculations, the state counted our employees, where they were, if they were new, if they were existing, and they gave us a number that we returned back to the taxpayer, which is that 196,524. So it's 2%, then we return that, so it'll be below that 2% is the tax levy, as a preliminary budget at this point. There were a lot of things that the administration had to go through, specifically the superintendent and the business administrator, and speaking to other administrators to get to this point. There are things that are not in this budget that were originally expected to be able to do, that we were hoping to do because we need to. That is, for the pre-K program, we were going to budget to expand to Berkeley. Right now, we know as a board, for those of us who've done this past year, or calendar year, we had students that enrolled in the pre-K program. And again, these are not general education students that we're talking about. We're talking about students that are, that have been identified as being eligible for those resources. You don't know those students are coming into your district until 90 days before their 3rd birthday. So we had a lot mid-year. We had some mid-year and then increased our classroom size, which caused us to create another group. So in anticipation of possibly having that, that was the thought. That's not going to be budgeted for this year. So we are okay with what we have right now. Our Director of Special Services has said that she feels comfortable at this point. But if we get an influx of 3-year-olds that we're not aware of, we will have to consider that. Also, there is the need for us to be able to have, and I wrote this down, so I want to make sure that I'm looking at all. I have a lot of Post-its. There are things like parking lot repavement. We will still do what we need to do to be able to fix things, but to be actually go in and do the deep dig and replace and repave, that was originally in there, it's out. We are looking at reducing some of the professional development and offsetting that with our Title II grant. What does that mean? That means that the professional development for our teachers, what they need, we will make sure they do, but there has to be cuts in that area, and so they're going to make creative cuts there. We have some firewall upgrades and technologies, also reducing some other upgrades in the technology area, but not anything due to security or anything that would impact the students. As well as looking at paper usage and copy machines and things like that. And really, overall, looking at anything that does not affect the student, but can make a difference in the budget. None of these items are things taken out of the budget that are, oh yeah, we'll just take that out and forget it, we'll never do it. These are things that are being postponed. Just the way that it seems to go, the pre-K student population seems to be growing. Our community is growing. Therefore, we have to anticipate that we're going to see that, as well as in classrooms. So we do need another teacher. That teacher is added into here. We do need to be able to add another pre-K teacher. That teacher is added into here. So the things that we need that will benefit the students are still here, but these are the things that are not. So in order to bring it to that point. Now, as a board, we don't go through each individual line item and say, how about 5 here, how about 10 there? But the superintendent and the business administrator did go through a lot of that with us, answering questions, what are these items and what can they be? We do have this preliminary. This is something that we will hand back because it is not final. But again, like I said, for the board, this is not, okay, this is preliminary and then it's going to be final and you have no say. This is the very first step in multiple steps in this process. And everything within here is keeping the taxpayer in mind, but most importantly, keeping the students in mind and making sure that we are not impacting students with any of the reductions that have had to be made. So as a committee, we did have discussions, we did have that opportunity. We all have an opportunity to approve the preliminary budget, but again, at a whole number. It is below the 2% at the end of the day because of what we're returning, because of the benefits. What the state had marked as what we saved in benefits. And I say that because They did it by a formula and not individual actual changes, and if we did that, that might be a little different, but the state number, our business administrator doesn't feel it's that far off. But she will continue to look at that too, just to make sure. So we did, as a committee, ask about what the differences would be, bringing it down even further. And at this point, these are the changes that were made to bring it to where it is, to make sure that it is where it is. So anything after this will definitely start to become to impact. One other thing that I want to mention, which was mentioned previously, is that during this other part of the conversation, there are things within here that are fixed costs that we cannot change. However, Superintendent had mentioned, and the business administrator, they are already looking at other items within this budget that are fixed costs that we can try to change going forward. The transportation thing, Stephanie has mentioned, this is a fixed cost. But in this year, there will be agreements and discussions with other districts that are utilizing buses going to the same places. Maybe we can do some shared service, so maybe we will realize a savings in the year, but we cannot budget for that savings because we don't have those plans in place today. Okay? So, again, for that. Now, for those that were not in the discussion, and that's fine, I'm sure, there's probably questions for those that have, I'm a little bit more most of the experience, Tony, maybe too. This is definitely the first step, but for those of you that have not been through this before, this is not the final step. Again, this is to keep it moving forward. This is not over. This is under the 2%, and there is still conversation to be had with the rest of the board after this, but it has to start to be reviewed because that process takes time, and we can't delay it. So I think I covered everything.
I think you did.
Did I miss
So,
anything?
I thought you did a good job.
Did I miss anything?
yeah,
Okay.
you did a
Nice
great
job,
Thank
Paige.
you.
Nice job, Paige.
I'm going to, I think,
Somebody's
just to stick,
squeaking.
yeah, whose
Oh.
chair is that?
Somebody needs a.
Okay, but so Paige, just to go with the meeting the way it should run, I would like you to do the seek of the motion like we
Yes.
always do, and then ask questions, and the members can ask questions before
At that time.
we,
Okay.
take a vote.
Okay. So I just confirmed with the rest of the committee members that I covered it. So-
Yeah, you did a great job there, very concise.
Thank you. Okay, so I seek a motion for approval for F-153, F-154, F-155, F-156, F-157, F-158, F-159, F-160, F-161, F-162, F-163, F-164, F-165, F-166, F-167, F-168, F-169, F-170, F-171, F-172, and F-173, which was added this evening, which is the assistant spring track coach at the middle school for $1,950. I need a second.
First we're going to.
You get to ask as soon as I get the second.
Yeah, we didn't do the vote yet, so.
So I need a second. There you go.
Seconded by Nicole Dunn. Okay, now.
Comments or questions?
Comments or
Okay,
questions?
that's what I wanted to confirm, we can get the comments.
Yes,
and questions.
so, Chair recognizes Cheryl Calderon.
Okay, it's my turn. All right, so just, we have to submit this preliminary budget by what date?
March 28th.
And when is the final budget have to be submitted?
And, well, we usually do a budget presentation last week in April. Last year was the first week in May.
Okay, so March 20th, and then the final, and then do you know approximately when that presentation will happen? April, you think?
Either the last week in April, but last year we extended it into the first week of May. They tell us the window when we can present.
Okay. What was the increase that Milford received, percentage-wise?
The increase,
The
are you
state aid.
talking
Right, that's
about?
the state aid, right.
Stephanie?
I said 1.4 million.
And percentage-wise, what was that again?
Percentage of the tax levy or percentage of the
Percentage
total
as far
budget?
as, how much, right, exactly.
Stephanie?
I'm sorry, what was the question? Percentage of what?
Percentage of the tax levy or percentage of the total
No, I
budget?
just because I had an interesting So it says here that we received, just confirm for me, we received one of the largest percentage increases in 56.8%.
You're talking about the equalization aid?
Yeah.
Okay, so equalization aid is aid that you receive to help you offset what was cut from you. So equalization aid in a district that is higher means that the district was proportionally underfunded. So that's why the equalization was higher, was because we were underfunded for a significant amount of time.
Okay, but it was 50, that's accurate, the number, the percentage that I provided.
What?
The 56.8 is correct, right?
56% of what, though?
The largest percentage increase of 56.8%.
In equalization, equalization aid,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
But it's not 56% of the budget or 56% of the tax levy.
That's what the aid was.
It's what the
I
aid
understand.
was previously. So it is a dramatic increase because we were dramatically cut in like 2009 that we are still not recovered from fully. Other districts who are at adequacy received less money. So it just shows you that we were under adequacy, and that's why we have the equalization aid.
I understand.
Yeah.
Um,
I just want to make sure the public understands, because
Right.
if you read that in the paper and you don't understand it contextually, it may look like you're just getting a windfall of money, but you're really just,
No,
trying to
completely
pick up
agree
the
with you,
pieces,
yeah.
and some of those
listen,
articles are.
Yeah, I'm brand new here.
Right.
This is the first time that I've been through this process. This, yesterday or probably 2 days ago was the first time that I saw the binder there, so I don't have any information.
Right.
At all. So I'm just trying to make sure that I have the proper context for what it is that we're gonna do here tonight. So just orient me, we're voting for this resolution to move forward and be presented to the county, that's what we're doing.
Right, just to show the county that what we have prepared is a balanced budget moving into next year. And then we take it further and break it down by domain, and then we present all of that to you, to the community. We talk about the costs to the average taxpayer, per like $300,000, what does it cost the average homeowner? And we break all of that down. We also talk about at those meetings, and we will have, the finance committee will have meetings going up to that. So we will continue to meet probably at least twice more.
And can I also say
Yeah.
too, the whole board? The whole board will be able,
We'll be presented everything. Yes, yes, yes.
Presentations and answer questions.
Yes.
And do all of that from now until that point. I want to make sure it's
Yes.
not just the four of us.
No.
That are making this decision.
Right.
And
And-
just reading my mind, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yes, and then we also present to the board, and Lauren assists, and we put things together with the administrators. What is the money going to? So that people can say if they're staffing, if they're, so we break that all down for the public budget presentation at the end of April, top of May.
I think the squeaky chair is Joe's.
Uh-oh.
Which is
Which is
fine,
fine,
as long as we know.
As long as we know it's not a sick animal, that's what I thought. It sounded like my dog crying.
I will stop.
Okay,
No, I'm good.
so
I'll
yes.
stop.
They just want to know, the county just wants to know, basically, are you paying attention to the numbers? Are you on track? And does your board know that, you're on your way, basically?
Right. I
Because
guess-
it can change, yeah.
Right, no, I understand. I guess my struggle is, we talk a lot about the NJSBA, and our roles, obviously as board members, and I'm looking at specifically, kind of the checklist, for instance, on the website, where it talks about where we start to discuss preliminary budget numbers, and I guess, forgive me, obviously, because, I am new here, is that I don't know in the context of what we're doing tonight, how I could conceivably begin to understand what we're voting on without having the proper information, when it seems to me that this conversation probably maybe could have started earlier.
It really couldn't have, because we didn't get the numbers until Friday, or Thursday night,
From the state.
from the state.
Right, but prior to that, we had some indication, of what some expenditures would be. I'm just trying to understand.
But really, what your expenditures would be doesn't help you build your budget. I know what I'm going to spend. Until I know what I'm getting, I can't do anything. Because I had to dramatically change my expenditures between last night and tonight by $1.2 million because of the lack of what I'm getting, let's say, you know, what the revenues are. So, and understand too, we function on committees here. So you have the way, you may be on policy or personnel, policy or facilities. You have a finance committee of 4 of your colleagues who are common trustees who ask all the questions. So John and Joe and Paige and Tanya are on finance. We present it to them. They ask all the questions on your behalf. And when it comes time to approve the full budget, then everybody gets all of the information, including the public. So when you work on committees, to some extent, certainly you can ask any question you want, but there is a level of trust in the work of your committee that has to be there. You have an athletic and co-curricular committee. We had a conversation last night about the track coach, for example. That happened in finance. That's on it. You can either trust that your committee asked all the questions, or you could vote yes, no, or abstain.
No, I listen.
You know, so like, because
Yeah.
we're a board that
understand
works
that.
with committees,
Right,
we
I
do have
understand.
these steps.
No, I understand, I guess, you know, my understanding, I didn't get this until this week, at least the numbers. And the reason that I'm asking this is not to be difficult or be, you know, the person that wants to, you know, hold up the meeting, is that the financial times being what they are in this country, is specifically here in Bergen County, the price of gas, inflation, I'm not trying to get on my high horse
Well, that's
here.
part of
Right,
why
but
we
what I'm
have the
telling you
challenges we do.
Right, but what I'm saying is that, that is why I think that, I'm being oversensitive about these issues, right? Because it costs so much for families to live here as it is, not just here in New Milford or in Bergen County, and so I'm just extra sensitive to these types of issues, and I would have liked, to have a more robust,
You will, in
and I
time,
understand, listen,
yeah.
I understand it's preliminary. I'm
It's
just-
preliminary,
These are
right.
just questions that I'm asking for me to get oriented as to what the process is, because conceivably, Selfishly-
I know you're, that this is good to know, but we should stick to the finance questions right
That's
now.
fine.
So,
Okay.
did you get your questions answered, or do you have more?
No, I think that I probably got the answers I'm gonna get.
Okay, good. Are there any other questions for the finance that we're voting on? Yes, Mr. Alvaro.
If they can be answered now, how many new positions being put into the budget?
So proposed, we have a new case manager, a new elementary school teacher because of enrollment at a particular grade level. We have this year's preschool teacher who was not in this year's budget, being added formally to next year's budget. And the dance teacher shared between the middle school and the high school because we are not compliant.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Roman.
I'm sorry, I just thought of this now, because we had talked about this a little bit in committee. But P124, we added social studies teacher.
Yes,
So,
we replaced.
so replaced, that's what I.
That's not a new position.
That's
It's
what I wanted.
replacing somebody who is leaving.
Thank you. So it doesn't change the number that we were
Doesn't.
talking about in committee?
No.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions to what we're voting on? Okay. We got the motions, now we just need all in favor?
You welcome? Or, I don't know, is it all okay?
It is.
Yeah, all in favor? Aye.
And if you have a particular one, you can.
That you're, yeah, if you have a particular one, you're going to abstain, if not, then you can. Opposed?
No.
Was that a no
To
to
everything?
something or a
That's
no?
no to F 161.
Okay, so motion passes 9-0 on everything with exception of F-161, which passes 8-1. Okay, and I lost my place. So we got finance. Facilities Committee, Nicole Dunn.
I seek a motion to approve FA19, FA20, and FA21, but before we vote, I'm going to abstain from FA20.
Okay.
Okay.
You said-
Okay. Can we get a second? Anthony Albro? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, sorry, you've fallen asleep on the job here.
Any liaison and board committee reports?
she's
Oh, no,
not.
no,
I
no,
got
no.
it.
I got one more. Yeah, but I feel like
Nicole's got work to do here.
Taking her spotlight.
All right, I seek a motion for AC 10, AC 11, and AC 12.
Motion by Paige Ryan, seconded by Stephanie Coffinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And I just have a comment.
Yes.
What these three people are doing as volunteers, they were here last night at 10:30 when we left.
Oh, that was them?
Yes, well, Justin wasn't
Wow.
there, but I know he's there. Volunteering, I really do think you need to see the show and just see what these
Wow.
three people are doing as volunteers.
Huge
Yeah.
thank you to
To
them,
them.
because we had our committee meeting, we were here until 10:30, and when we were walking out, we saw them in the auditorium working. Yeah, they're putting a lot of work in. As a volunteer, that's great.
So
Huge thank you.
all of our former graduates, all
Huge,
talented
huge thank
musical
you.
theater students, just really beautiful people. And I just,
Give them back.
Justin used to be was our
Yes, he
board,
was.
student board rep.
Almost as
Okay.
energetic as McKenna. Almost, not possible. Almost. Yeah.
Okay, so now, are there any liaison and board committee reports?
Can I just want to add one thing, which I think I just really need to make sure is clear, because I know it's hard for the public too. This is preliminary. I don't think I can say the word enough.
I know.
It's preliminary. This is just part of the process. So I know that if I were not on the committee, I would probably be like, what don't I know? But we'll all go through this too. So.
Yes. Thank you for adding that. Additional board items? Old business? New business?
Can I speak to new business?
Yes.
Well, the board already accepted the resignations for retirement, but I just wanted to acknowledge Ms. Vicari from the high school and Mr. Ronan from the middle school. It is Mr. Ronan, right?
Yes.
Mr. Ronan, science teacher from the middle school, and wish them a long, healthy retirement. I know we will acknowledge our retirees at the end of the year, but both of these two individuals have been teachers here for a very long time, really love their kids, really struggled with the decisions to retire. But I just want to just give a shout out to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I seek a motion to open to the public as outlined in the Milford Board of Education Bylaw 0167. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 2 minutes. Can I get a motion? Motion by Joseph Lumen, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, please state your name and address for the record.
So my name is Lauren Folletti, 253 Myrtle Avenue, but tonight I come here as the president of the New Milford Cpac. For those of you that may not be aware, Special Education Parent Advocacy Group is what a Cpac is, and it may not be well understood that we've had a Cpac in New Milford since 2018, established by our founder, Tina Thornberry, who is a valued member of our group still to this day. So also with me tonight is our VP, Christine Famtha, and Allison Kane, our secretary. And, excuse me, apologies that I don't have my glasses, so I may go over 2 minutes.
I'd like to borrow mine.
I was going to say, you want you just pass them
I
around.
appreciate you
No
all.
problem, I feel you.
We have number
I have number
ones,
2.
2s, and 3s. You have your choice.
Whatever you want.
Thank you very much. So our purpose for attending tonight is really sort of threefold. First, we want to just reintroduce ourselves or introduce ourselves. And as such, we do have a brochure that we'd like to distribute, if that would be okay. And secondly, we just want to kind of remind this body that, Cpacs are mandated to exist by law. according to NJAC blah, 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 which states that each district Board of Education shall ensure that a special education parent advocacy group is in place in the district to provide input to the district on issues concerning students with disabilities. So our Cpac mission is fairly simple. We just want to encourage and facilitate honest, effective communication, understanding, mutual respect, support and partnership, including, with teachers, students, parents, educators, and the community at large. We execute that mission in several different channels, but in short, and certainly as foundational, we support a regular cadence of parent-driven meetings. Cpac officers then bring, any concerns, issues that were, brought forward by our group membership to the district leaders, according to the chain of command. And we just want to ensure that that this board recognizes that our information is open available to you via the district website. So if you follow the breadcrumbs from central office to special services, you will find a link to Cpac, and we've updated all of our agendas effective last week, I believe. It was our last meeting on March 8th. I think the big message here is in what we can sort of consider a post-COVID world where parents of special needs children understand all too well that our children fell into the category of most vulnerable. It is not surprising that parents of special needs children are more engaged with Cpacs than ever before. They have questions, comments, and concerns that they bring forth. For those parents that may not understand the experience of a special needs child or the parent of a special needs child, I like to use the analogy of medicine, right? Because everybody gets that. If your child needed medicine, you do anything in your power to get it. Where am I? And lastly, we come to share a short list of our goals and accomplishments to date. Currently, we have about 85 members in Cpac, making it more accessible than in previous years. Our Cpac membership has doubled in comparison to 2020. Our average parent participation in virtual meetings is 20 to 25 parents, which happens to be semi-comparable to the attendance of these Board of Ed meetings via live stream. Historically, our Cpac has engaged with district leaders, but really didn't get much further, past the Director of Special Services, and we view this sort of as a glass ceiling. Our goal is that communication channels begin to have depth, reach, and inspire more meaningful partnership. We are happy to report that we've had both Ms. Shanley and Dr. Pro attend one of our meetings already this year, so that is a success to recognize. It sort of demonstrates for us that there's a degree of commitment from the district to collaborate and work in partnership with Cpac to improve special education and special services in our community. We hope to build upon that working relationship in the coming weeks and months. And finally, we want to extend an open invitation to any of the board members to attend one of our meetings or meet with us. It's an open invite. We also wanted to share a resource from our friends at SPAN. For those of you that may not be aware of SPAN, SPAN is a statewide parent advocacy network group. And this pamphlet is basically regarding how Board of Eds might better engage with Cpac. We're open to any recommendations or suggestions on how we can better do that. But in ending, I just want folks to bear in mind that matters of special education not only affect students with special needs, but they affect the district overall. They affect the general population. And this is why we are here, to remind you and to encourage you to continue to ask those important questions as they relate to their special education program. So in closing, I just want to make sure I thank and acknowledge all of our special ed teachers, our therapists, and our aides that work with our children every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fletty.
Yes, is there any questions that I can answer?
This isn't after we close.
Okay.
Thank you.
And is it okay if Allison just distributes some pamphlets and paper?
Is this your trifold CPAC?
Yes.
I have a copy, I could send it to them digitally,
Okay.
so we could do that, save a
Sure.
tree? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone else from the public? I seek a motion to close. Motion by Paige Ryan, second by Stephanie Coppinger. Thank you very much, Mrs. Folletti. I would like to clarify something, though. Board members cannot attend those meetings as board members because the board as a whole makes decisions. So they can't attend individually and speak for board members on outside things. So anything that we say and do must be done in public at public meetings. So we can't attend those meetings as board members. If someone here qualified as a parent, they could certainly attend as a parent because when we take our oaths, we do not give up our rights as parents, but we cannot attend as board members, and we have to keep those roles in mind. But thank you very much for the information, and thank you for coming. Mr. Albero, did you want to ask?
I was just going to
a question?
suggest if the board could consider establishing a board liaison to that group.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Alvaro. That was a recommendation that we'd like to.
Right?
yeah, you offered and then you were told it couldn't be right.
Not as a liaison, though,
Right,
as a parent.
as a parent.
I'm not sure. I would have to check with our attorney because I actually did reach out to the group as a parent and was told that I could not participate
Because she was a board member.
because I was a board member. So we would have to check that with the attorney. All right.
And you weren't told by your attorney that you couldn't participate?
No,
No,
the
he
attorney
said-
said the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Board member requests for additional information. Okay, I seek a motion to adjourn.
Hold,
Oh.
just one thing. Councilman Seymour, I saw him here. I don't know if.
Oh, did you want to say something, Mr.
We
Seymour?
asked, you didn't raise it.
Thank you.
Oh.
You didn't? Now you do.
Thank you. Great to see everybody.
Were you asleep?
Were you asleep at the wheel, Seymour?
Reports?
What was that?
Were you asleep at the
Sleeping
wheel?
when
No, I
I
was
said
actually
committee
reading through
reports?
the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's great to see everybody. I'm sorry I missed your meeting last night. We did last night honor those that we've lost to COVID from the town. A very touching event called 71 Lives Remembered, because New Milford has lost 71 residents to COVID. We put 71 luminaries on the front steps of Borough Hall in memory of those people. And of course, our condolences will always be with their families and their loved ones. On a brighter, happier note, there's a lot of events coming up. On March 27th, registration will begin and will open for the New Milford Recreation Co-ed Kickball. So again, that's registration opens on March 27th. On Saturday, April 2nd, between 9 and 12, the New Milford Police will be hosting a car seat inspection down at the DPW. They asked that parents try to at least install the car seat before they bring it down and it belongs to the vehicle. And of course, they want to bring the kid down and have them try to make sure it's properly installed. They'd be happy to help out. On Sunday, April 3rd at 2 p.m. at Borough Hall, we're going to kick off the 100th anniversary festivities for the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of the borough. We're going to raise the 100th anniversary flag, open the time capsule, and of course have a reception. So we hope as many people as possible can come to that. And on Saturday, April the 9th, we're going to have our annual Easter egg hunt at Williams Field behind the library at 10 a.m. So, and of course, we wish all of you, we wish everybody a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank
Seymour.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So many meeting rearrangements.
Yes.
All right. Now I seek a motion to adjourn. Motion by Nicole Dunn, seconded by John Zacosta. All in favor?
Aye.